Okay, so back at it, and I'll get you turned around here. I've been at it for a couple days. It's a lot of grinding, a lot of prep, and I think we're getting close to being ready for the first drop. So let me get you turned around here, and we'll go from here. All right, so I think I've got this to the point where it's trimmed off as much as I'm going to trim it off for now. And I've reinforced it. I had this done, but I didn't mention it. Reinforced this front to back from the front shock towers all the way back to the these frame rail kickups over here that go out over top of the rear spring mounts. I've also trimmed down these rear frame rails to the just bare necessities. So I'll have to build them back up so that they make a connection to the bottom side of the bed. As you can see, obviously they slope down. This should be contacting with the bed. Now I can't go straight out here and just call it good, because unlike a pickup truck bed, let's see if I can show you this here. You can see that the El Camino bed goes downhill, and so that I guess it's to drain water out of the bed, but it is the situation where I've got to make sure that the spring bucket is the highest part. I can't trim that down any further, obviously, because that's the top of the spring buckets. But from this point on here, I might have to trim this down again and replate this. But I have to build that frame rail up and longer, depending on where it intersects the back. There's a cross member back there at the very back. I want to connect that also to that cross member. So a lot of work has to happen here, but it's all going to have to angle to match the bed. So that's what I got going on there. In the car itself here, I've cut out a lot of structure that'll have to be put back in some form or another. But for right now, I had to clear it out to make room for the gas tank and everything else that's going to happen here. I've got to be able to place the gas tank and the gas tank sheet metal in such a way that everything lines up with this fill door over here. So that'll be a project that I'll have to determine once this thing is able to be dropped down over here. And so anything that was going across here has been taken out for now, and I won't be reusing the same structures. I'll probably just make the stuff out of brand new material, but we're going to definitely have to connect both ends side to side once again to get the strength of the bed back, because it's just one piece of sheet metal at this point. Anyway, I've gone ahead and I finished up plating these areas over here where the hinges are, the door hinges, to try and strengthen up those areas, and also have some place to weld this through this panel over here. So I'll be marking and drilling that out. Probably not after the first drop. The first drop's going to be mainly dealing with making sure I've got enough clearance back there behind the this bulkhead over here. From there, basically dealing with the bed. And the thing that I was talking about with the gas tank sheet metal is what I saved out of the car, which was over top of the axle, which I'll be moving more to the back of the car, is this piece of sheet metal that has the placement for the straps that retain the gas tank. So I'll have to get this shifted into place, and then I'll have to figure out how I'm going to attach it to my rear frame rails once I establish my rear frame rails. So I'll want it to be as far forward as I can get it, based on the fact that I don't want to see the gas tank hanging down. And I want to get it inboard just as much as I can, but obviously we've got some things here I have to be careful to not get in the way of. At any rate, that's where I'm at right now, but it's been mostly cleaning everything down, minimizing everything, checking out these different cuts and cleaning off the seam sealer as much as I can. But once I get this back on those dollies, I'll be able to roll this up underneath of this, getting these horses out, raise the chains up, get this thing underneath there, and start dropping it down and see what kind of issues that I'm going to be running into from here on out. Well, that's it down on the Camaro chassis. I have to pull it forward a little bit, about a quarter of an inch. Actually, it's about an eighth of an inch at the top over here. That's all I got left. I'm thinking I might need to I don't know. It's pretty even right here. That's the pinch weld. We're right there. That flange hanging down doesn't look too bad. Of course, when you're standing here, when it's blacked out, I still may do a rocker extension just a little bit to try to blend it in a little bit. I'm surprised at how much the springs are holding this back end up. Of course, it doesn't have all the weight that's going to have on the back, but I guess the Camaros got a lot with the hatchback and everything and all that glass in the back. They probably got a lot of weight in them. So I'm surprised that that isn't dropped lower. So anyway, it is definitely on the suspension, though. You can see right here that we're on the suspension. It's on the springs right now. And we're just sitting there. And as I thought, over here, this is hitting at the back end of the frame rail as opposed to the front end over here. It's much closer on the other side. So I'm going to have to come to the end of the spring bucket right here and see what I can do about trimming this rail down on an angle more to take that just a little bit lower because it's a little uneven on the pinch weld. Over here it's a little high at the back. Not much, but won't kill things if I can't get that done. But over on this side you can see it's just a little bit closer, but it just has the same situation. It's going flat and the bed's going downhill, so it's hitting at the back of that rail where I plated it before. So I'll have to modify that. Cut a little bit too much out of this here, but hey, it's metal. Just weld some more back. And here's what I was talking about the cavity that's between these two areas right here. It has to be filled in. This is what this is looking like. I'm going to decide to leave as much of this as possible. This will have to be reconciled. It's a little gapped here. It's the same on this side over here. Just it's wider. I went with a square opening. This actually tapers out a little bit. So not the end of the world. Again, this is the pinch weld to the pinch weld. It's working pretty good. Yeah, so that's the first shot down. Had to trim a few little things right in here. It was hitting where I made that little floor excision right there. And now it's going to give me an idea as to where I can put my, I can fit my gas tank in this area right here. And you can see that I have to build the frame rails up so they'll support the bed, and I can bring and reintroduce my cross members somewhere along the line here after I slide my sheet metal to wherever it needs to go to support the gas tank. And then I'll figure out where I'm going to put my cross members from there. I might put it right behind the gas tank and one in front. We'll figure that out as we go. But I'll have to lift this back off to once I get all my patterns made up for this, for the top of the frame rail. Although it's going to be kind of tough because I have to make those patterns after I adjust those plates on the top of these spring buckets here, which means it's got to come back off, adjust the plates, drop it down, and then work on these again. We'll see how that works. Anyway, it fit pretty good. A few little miscalculations, like I said, as far as I made that pattern, and we got a little bit too much material cut out here. But we'll put it back in as long as the wheel and the wheel opening looks pretty good. I may end up having to put some kind of coilovers on this or kind of drop this down a little lower. I don't know what it's going to look like once the engine weight and transmission weight's in this thing. It might take the whole thing down to the ground a little bit better, but who knows? Maybe I won't have to deal with this at all over here because it's just not going to get down that far. That's not the look I want, but we'll see what I have to do to achieve all of that. Anyway, that's the first shot of the car down on the chassis. We'll go on from here. All right, so I've got this down and in position where it's supposed to go now. I went ahead and I trimmed those back rails down a little bit and got this to sit down evenly. As you can see from the pinch welds, I've got it just temporarily screwed in with some self-tappers. So that's where we're at with that. That's as far forward as I need it to go here. Over here, I'm tracing out this area here, trim off the rest of this metal here, and create a small cavity here to accept the windshield wiper motor and everything else that's got to go up underneath here. So that's what I got to do on that side also. So that's where we are with that. Now I got to get back under there and start making patterns for everything, where I want cross supports and all of that good stuff. So I'll be up underneath there, knocking my head into those remaining supports. Anyway, that's what's going on right now. All right, I'm up underneath the car, starting to fabricate this the bracing that I need under here, starting at the very front here where the end of the floor pan is. There was a heavy steel brace that I left in the Camino when I cut it down, and now I've made a transition piece here that goes up against the back of this floor pan, and then it angles forward and it aligns with the plug weld holes that I drilled out the former brace in. So this will be able to be welded from the top, rosetted from the top where the spot welds were drilled out. That's the front side. Now on the back side, I'll complete this by putting another piece up in here, and let's see if I can get it up in here. This will go on the back side of that brace, and temporarily I'm just screwing everything together. So I'm going to pick the body back up off the car after I get everything fabricated here, and so that I can weld everything up straightforward looking at it without being under the car, because this is a little crimped up under here. So anyway, that's what's going on under here. Just so you can see up here, this row of drilled out spot welds was where the old floor, the back of the old floor ended, and this is actually where the first brace, cross brace, came in that mounted the body to the chassis. So I've gone ahead and I've screwed that piece of sheet metal up through here, so that that's up as tight as it can be. It's nice and flat, so that when I go to put this together, I don't have this waviness going on here. So everything's in place where it needs to go. All right, so I've got this salvaged piece of tin that holds the straps for the gas tank. I dropped over top of the gas tank, and it's on this board that's kind of level at the angle that the gas tank wants to fit. Now I'm getting ready to just use this floor jack to jack this whole little plywood platform up to try and put this up inside, and hopefully line it up with this gas hole here and see how that all looks, and see where the sheet metal has to go in order to accommodate everything. Okay, it's a little tough to see what's going on here, but I've got this platform. I've got it jacked up with this floor jack to take the whole assembly all the way up till it touches the bottom of the bed. Which you can see the tank is black, so a little tough to see. You got the sheet metal touching. Of course, that has another profile in there, which basically holds the gas tank away from the bed about a ½ inch. And I added this little piece of aluminum here, temporary, just to be able to locate this sheet metal back to the same location once the gas tank's back out of the car, so I can start figuring out where I'm going to put my frame rail extensions here. I cut this frame rail off so that I could get this filler neck to come across here, and I've got a temporary locator going on here to locate. There's a bracket right there on the fill neck, so I'm just trying to fool around with it and get some kind of a location to make sure that it ends up popping out where I want it to over here. And this is definitely in the category of it's better to be lucky than good, because everything just fits. As you can see right here, the gas tank itself is just behind the axle and the stabilizer bar, so I'll be able to run the fuel lines up and over without any problems. Anyway, that's where I am at with this, and I'll have to basically take a real good look at this tomorrow morning and make sure there's nothing that I've forgotten to consider, and I'll start making up patterns for the metal work that's got to go as far as the extensions of the frame rails and any cross members that I want to add back in for strength around the sheet metal that holds the gas tank. Anyway, that's where we're at with that. All right, with the gas tank now removed, you can see this, I've got this piece temporarily screwed up into here. This is where the straps go to secure the gas tank right here. So it's just screwed to the bed right now with some self-tappers while I establish everything that will actually hold it in place. Right now I am working on extending the frame rails. As you can see, I've taken them all the way up to the bottom of the bed over here. Just doing the sides first, and then I'll complete these with the El Camino body off the chassis. This won't actually connect right now to this section here. I'm going to put a plate here just to do a bolt up here to stationary and make it, stabilize it a little bit. But this is my clearance for where the filler neck has to pass through in this frame rail. I've got plenty left on top over here. By the time this is all boxed in on both the bottom and the top side, it should be a pretty solid member here. And from that point, I'll have established some surfaces that I can come across and weld to and put similar plates. You see this plate I have over here that connects the bed. You see the bed screwed there and here. Let's see if I can get it better like that. You can see this piece here. I'll be doing the same thing or something similar on the front and rear of this gas tank sheet metal to connect it to side to the frame rails over here. So hopefully that'll stiffen that up, and I'll box that in also once the body's up off the car, so I can see everything clearly and I can work out on it straight ahead. Working under the car is a little bit tough, a little bit tedious, a little slow, but it has to be done right now to get an accurate fit of everything. So that's what I'm up to right now. Just piecing this stuff together and seeing where everything's going to land. Okay, so hopefully you can see this a little bit better now what my intent is. You can see that I'm filling this in all the way up to here. So this creates like a nice clean box tube that's coming over here, and I've got it tied in over here temporarily with this flange. Eventually I'll weld this, but I wanted to make this a loose fit so that when I pick the car up and drop it back down that this doesn't catch over here. So I've got to clearance that a little bit more. But that's my passageway for my fill tube right there. And so anyway, just moving along with this, and got to do this side next. Okay, so just so you can get oriented, this is the back of the car, tailgate area. You see what's going on here. I've gone ahead and I showed you that frame rail extension. I just made this frame rail extension over here, which is bolted in. That's just to hold it, locate it. Basically, I'll eventually weld it up down through here once this is all together. I've put in this, it's overbent L shape right here out of 60 thousandths steel, and that's connecting this side to this side across the back of the sheet metal here, which is just right now screwed to this member right here, all with the idea that I'll be able to unscrew these screws that are holding this sheet metal to the bed and lift this whole body off, and then I'll be able to work, you know, with all of this in plain view from the top side down to finish out all these structures. This is just two sides of a four-sided beam that's going to go across to support the gas tank over here. And of course, this will all be welded through here to that beam. I've got a temporary support here out of 3/8 tubing because I just can't get in behind all this mess to get this properly attached, but I do have, once this is set here, the spread, once the body's lifted off again, I can come across with a similar structure like this and then turn it into a four-sided member that will be plenty stout to act as a cross member across this bed, keep this bed stiff. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now with all of that. And so next thing is to try and unscrew all of this and lift the body back off and finish out this structure in the back, and then clean up the bottom side of the bed. Maybe throw a little paint on there before I bring it down for the final time to weld it all up. Quite a few things to deal with before that happens, but that's where I'm at with this. Also, I want to show you the yesterday I got the tires mounted on the wheels, so I finally have these, which it's always good to have the tires you're going to be working with eventually to make sure you got all the clearances you need. So these are some Corvette wheels, 9.5 by 17s, and they did me a solid by making sure that they were as narrow as they could be on the wheel. As you can see, the wheel is susceptible to curb rash, but shouldn't be hopefully running into curbs with these anyway. Smart, but it puts the tire at a minimum on this outer side here, so that it'll roll up into the fender well with hopefully no interference. We'll see how that all works out. But having the actual tires brand new with all the tread on it, this is something I've had to fight with on the last couple of builds, not having the the finished tire, finished wheel. And it's you use a used wheel that has use a used tire that has no tread on it, and you run into the idea that you when you do get a treaded tire that has maybe a quarter inch or a half inch more tread on it, then you start running into some interferences as you didn't have when you did the build. So it's always good to have the actual tires. That's what we used to do when we're hanging bodies on the race cars, because the tolerances were tight, and you always built to the tires and wheels that were actually going to be on the setup in the eventuality, so you had all your clearances. Anyway, that's where I'm at with that, and we'll go on from here. Okay, so you can see a little more plainly now that I've got this back out from under the body, what I was dealing with, trying to piece this all together underneath the car. It's all tied together to some degree, so I'm pretty confident that if I put it back in this location, that I'll be good to go. But now I can go about trimming it to fit this profile here and all of this, so that it can all be welded up together. Anyway, that's what I got ahead of me, and that's where I'm at right now. Okay, so I've taken that piece of sheet metal out that holds the gas tank. I drilled out some holes for some plug welds for my final installation, cleaned it off the existing paint, and sprayed it with some weld-through primer. So that'll be the last thing to go back up in here. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm building these cross beams here to support the truck bed. And as you can see, what I've done here is on both sides, because of the nature of them, they have to be slanted in order to accommodate that sheet metal. So to make them in two halves instead of being able to just run a beam across here. So I'm creating my own beam. The first thing I'm doing is I'm bending the shape so that it lays flat on the top here, and then it also complies with the angle of the sheet metal that has to be installed to hold the gas tank. The second piece is has a lip both on the bottom and on the top. And what that allows me to do is just to slide this in here and have a good surface to weld to. It also, that angle also creates a nice straight edge to straighten this whole piece out, give it a little more strength at both the this rear joint here down at the bottom and at the top over here. So this hasn't been dealt with yet. It's just screwed in. I'm going to pull that back out once this assembly's stiffened up a little bit with this mess going on here. I still have to drill some holes here where you see the screws, I have to drill some holes for some spot welds through all this plating and everything here on both sides. Then I have to coat this with the weld through primer, put it back in, and final weld it. But I was just using these self-tapping screws to kind of pull everything up to see what kind of a fit I had, make sure everything was nice and tight. I'll go the additional step of clamping everything to make it tight as I weld it along here and make it all one piece. But that's where I'm at right now. And of course, finally I'll be capping off the top of the rail and installing that sheet metal back in here. And that's just wanted to show you some of what I'm doing here so that it's not a big before and after. You can see some of the transition. All right, I've got this rear clip back off the car, so I could do a couple of things. One was to weld this up solid, this bottom plate on here and on this side over here before I install it. Just be a little easier than me crawling up under the car and doing that upside down. Same goes for a seam seal in this seam over here, getting that closed up, making sure that I don't have to do that upside down and backwards. So now I've got to paint out with some weld through primer on both sides here before I reinstall it for the last time in the car. Hopefully I won't forget to coat all the areas that need to be coated. And that's where we're at with this thing. Okay, just thought I'd stop and show you how this is coming along. Got a ways to go yet on it, but got this flange welded in. Got this flange welded in. I've got this box beam welded in on the front and the rear. Likewise, the sheet metal that holds the gas tank in place. I've got these frame rail extensions welded in, both plug welded through all of this thick steel here, and also welded around the perimeter on both sides here. So what's left to do is I have to get the gas tank up in here and make sure that I've got enough clearance for the filler neck before I proceed with finishing out boxing this all in here, and then I have to cap over the tops. But this is where I am right now as far as you can see, all of this stuff is decking out the straight edge over here, so that it'll hopefully be flat underneath the bed the way it needs to be. The only problem is I've got quite a bit of work to get this deck. As you can see, this deck has a few abuse spots from over the years where it's not quite straight across. So I'll have to get a jack under there and try to push it up as best I can in different spots there, so that when this thing drops down, because even though this thing is flexible now, it's flexible enough that you wouldn't want to leave it that way unsupported, but not flexible enough that if I drop it down that it'll correct itself, if you get what I'm saying. But anyway, this is the way this is all looking right now. I just thought I'd stop and take a picture and record it at this point. All right, so using this platform to handle the gas tank because it's awkward, and that rectifies it and also enables me to move it around and jack it up to the proper position. I put it back up in here real quick to see if I have enough clearance, and I've got plenty of mobility here, so I should be able to get this in at any angle. So now I'm free to go ahead and fill this all in and then cap these off at the top. So that's what's going on here. All right, so that's what that's looking like, all capped off on the inside, welded across the bottom. So now I can go ahead and I can paint the inside of this rail before I start to fabricate the top caps for this and complete this section here. Okay, so that's everything capped off on the top. Everything's nice and decked off here. And it's painted on the inside before I put that top cap. Of course, I painted the back side of the caps themselves. So hopefully that'll be enough. It's not like I'm going driving around in the snow up in Michigan, getting a lot of salt in there or anything like that, but any protective coating will help. And anyway, this is where I'm at with this. I just started to do a little preliminary trim over here for this front. I had an outline traced over here, based on this piece of metal where it's trimmed, but I have to, I was going to put in my blocking and everything here to close this back up, but I decided to wait until the car's dropped and see what I have to do, because I might have some gaps that need to be filled, and it'd be nice to come across. It would be nice to come across with a straight piece up and then straight up, and then join it right to the bottom of this piece right here. We'll see how that all works out. But at any rate, I've got to do a little more cleaning on the bottom side there. Maybe paint the bottom side of the bed before I can drop this back on, hopefully for the last time. And then I can start welding the two cars together. But that's not going to be right now, because I'm out of time this week, and I've got some other things that I got to deal with. And so I'm going to end this video here, and I'd like to thank anybody who's watching and following along. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you on the next one.